Today we've come to AmCham on Phuket News TV, and of course we love speaking to the numbers man from C9hotelworks.com, Bill Barnett. Thanks for joining us. What's today all about?
We've got STR Global here and also Outrigger as well, and they're going to be talking about the real numbers, getting inside what's happening with the Russian and Chinese markets, as well as hotel trading, occupancy, average room rates, and also strategy. You know, what do hotels have to do to attract broader tourism?
What do we have to do to attract broader tourism? Clearly there's been a lot of move towards trying to get these Chinese coming, but maybe that's not sustainable.
The biggest number we're looking at is the average stay of 2.2 days for the China market.
That's not a lot.
That's not a lot, and that's when people see the volume going up at the airport. They're saying, what's happening, where are the tourists? But it's actually, for hotels, they need to actually have, again, another strategy to attract other markets as well. You know, when you're eating a piece of pie, some people like a variety. You want to cut up those pieces of pie and not just have mono markets.
Well, a clever thing we could do is try to get the Chinese to come here for longer. How can we get them to come here for a week holiday or 2 weeks?
I think, again, something, that's struggling with the travel patterns. The way the Chinese travel, they book 30 days and under, they're staying shorter periods of time. They like to go to different destinations. They'll go to Khao Lak, go to Koh Phi Phi, and go to Phuket within one trip. So they like variety. Again, they're not just about the beach. It's beyond the beach for the Chinese.
Okay, interesting. And if you were, as you sift through your numbers and you're finding a number and you go, wow, that's incredible, what numbers have you been looking at in the last month that have really surprised you?
I think something that surprises us actually is the relaunches of the hotel-branded residences. I think, we saw the Montezor Twin Palms tie-up, which was announced yesterday. I think that's key. We're seeing a lot of residential product coming online, which is hotel-managed, be it Rosewood, which is in the pipeline, the Anantara, certainly, the Cassia, which just opened as well. So I think that market is jumping out at us because we're seeing a lot of product come in, which is the branding, a marriage, say, between hotel and real estate developers.
Okay, Bill, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks so much.
Bill Barnett there from C9 Hotel Works, and coming up right after this we're going to speak to a couple of the speakers at today's AmCham meeting on Phuket News TV.
Thailand's premier SSI Diamond Dive Centre. Visit us in Geelong or on c-bees.com. Seabees Diving. Adventure in good hands.
This is the Phuket News. This is Novosti Phuketa. This is Puji Dao Xinwen, the new Chinese language newspaper for Phuket. Available at 600 locations around Phuket. Your island, your newspapers.
And now speaking to Jesper Palmquist, he's part of STR Global, big company who compile a lot of numbers. And as we know, we love our numbers. Jesper, what does STR Global collect numbers about?
Well, it's the hospitality industry first and foremost. We get data from hotels all around the world. It's about 52,000 hotels around the world. One global methodology. We get the data and then we in turn give that into reports to hotels that they use to benchmark, and investors and anyone interested in the markets around the world to understand how markets are shifting in terms of those common metrics that hotels use, ADRs and occupancy, etc.
What's the main metric that hotels are using these days?
Yeah, so the classic one that still prevails is the revenue per available room, the RevPAR. Right, so based around the occupancy and the rates, so that's a big one. We also track supply and demand, so the rooms available and the rooms sold in the market. So that's what's been happening traditionally. But we are seeing a shift though.
Now, what brings you to Asia? Asia, of course, part of the huge growing markets around the world.
Yeah, so we've been based out of Singapore for 8 years now, spreading around. And as an American company originally, we would get the participation from the Western brands quickly. And throughout the years, we get more of the regional chains and the individual properties that supply data to us. And it is the fastest growing market, particularly in the upscale and luxury classes of hotels.
Just looking to Phuket, what are some of the big numbers that would tell us a story here in Phuket?
Well, I think Phuket is interesting. The seasonality, which is a big factor here in Phuket, seems to be gone back to be bigger than we've seen in the last few years. Last year, of course, when we talk about Thailand, not everything, well, a lot has been around Bangkok and what happened last year and their quick recovery. The resilience of Thailand as a nation, how they hold rate through tough times of occupancy drops has been a big story. Phuket has seen less of that, but what we're seeing now in Phuket is, of course, that big shift on the tourism arrivals, which changes how people are pricing them around. But Phuket it's a fairly healthy market. the new supply of pipeline of hotels has been not too big, like you would see in other like Chinese markets where tons of new hotels saturates the markets and it's hard to do that.
Look into the STR global crystal ball. What can you see, Jesper, that is a trend that might be happening around this part of Asia?
Well,
Question without notice.
the investment interest is still very much there. All the owners and investors that we talk to still see Southeast Asia in general as an important investment target, and Thailand remains one of those. There is, of course, an uncertainty around the political stability and how the devaluation rumors and all that, if you should put your money in here. But long-term, Thailand has proven time and time again that it's interesting. So I think new properties, new investments will come in, new brands, new exciting concepts, which is good. And for our sake, since we work with data, it's interesting to see that the maturity in revenue management and using data intelligence is growing every year.
Jesper, thanks for coming to Phuket.
Thank you very much indeed.
And now more closer to home, we're speaking to Mark Simmons, who's doing the sales and marketing for Outrigger. Mark, been some big changes in the sort of the mix of people coming to Phuket. Can we talk about what you're finding the mix of tourists is at the moment here with Outrigger?
Well, 2015 into Phuket has been a very interesting year for both internal and external reasons. We've had external reasons being not the collapse, but the drop in the Russian economy, which has affected the currency there.
What sort of drop have you seen in sort of the Russian tourists?
Our numbers have still been all right, but the yield has come down, so it might be a little bit of a different customer. The Australian dollar is down 25+% compared to 12 months ago. Australia's a critical market here.
And you've seen a big drop there with the...
No, not a big drop, about 10%.
But they might be spending less.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then obviously China has been a big saviour, to be honest, coming through this last 6 to 8 months. It's really held up Phuket in spite of those downturns from the other two key markets.
And what sort of turnover, not sort of turnover, but the percentage of Chinese tourists coming through the doors?
To the island, and it depends which source you take, it's between 28 to 37% in total, depending which source. For us at Outrigger, it's about 22 to 25. So
it's still a really big number, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if we look forward to trends, China's going to remain very important to this island.
But at the end of the day, you'd have to say that the most populous nation of the world, which is only 3 or 4 hour flight away from, depending on which part of China, is a market we should be looking to and nurturing.
Correct. And you need to be China friendly when you're operating, whether it be a tourism business, a hotel, or a fly business. You need to be able to engage this market because they're becoming more discerning. We're in a little bit of an upper scale section of the market here in Phuket, so we've developed programs that cater to this.
What are you doing like with Outrigger when you sort of look at trying to work with the Chinese market? What do you do?
We have what's called a China Ready program. So that covers basic things from Mandarin speaking staff to the food and beverage offering in a property, to having newspapers available, these types of things.
Including the brand new Chinese newspaper from the Phuket News?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's a great move. I think that's a really good move in this space. If
you were to say, to give some advice to some of the smaller hotels around Phuket that might be sort of struggling with the change of the tourist mix and trying to attract or get some more Chinese tourists, what piece of advice would you give to them?
Well, the Chinese market works in 2 ways, really. They have peak periods, which are for them the Chinese New Year period.
Around the end of February?
Correct, generally, and then also their October period, which is their national holiday week. So if a lower end property wants to maximise this market, you've got to set your rates accordingly. In low season, which is our low season in Phuket traditionally, their high volume is actually still in July and August. So you've got to balance how you market your rates and what you do.
Okay. Mark, thanks for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
Well, some more interesting figures at the AmCham meeting, and the AmCham meetings each month really do sort of unveil a lot of important speakers and important numbers about what makes the island tick. And the trends keep changing, so it's really important for operators to keep their head around the numbers. Thanks for joining us on Phuket News TV. We'll see you next time.
Drive on Live with Jason Wilder. Weekdays from 3 p.m. Expect the unexpected. Live 89.5. PhuketLiveRadio.com